Well, if you have a look at our ABC Capricornia Facebook page, you'll see a story that we posted yesterday about how a large swastika with the words "White Power" was painted at a popular lookout in central Queensland. A resident reported the racist message at the Mount Morgan lookout, and it has been widely condemned by the local council, the Race Relations Commissioner and a social psychologist. Well, last week a Nazi flag was flying over a home in northwest Victoria, and that was brought down after it prompted community outrage. Well, Dr. Dvir Abramovich is the chairman of the Anti-Defamation Commission, and he joins you now. Good morning, Dvir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being on the program. Now, I've been looking at some of the comments on this Facebook post that we put up yesterday, and a significant number of them are saying, look, this isn't a big deal. It's just one sign that doesn't mean that there's a problem. What's your response to that?
Well, first of all, as a person who loves this country and cherishes its core values of respect for all, equality, freedom, democracy, I was outraged. But I'm not surprised, and those who dismiss this incident have not learned from history. And what we know from history, and this month we are commemorating the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, where more than 1.1 million men, women and children were gassed, were starved, were shot, were murdered. We've learned that if we allow complacency, if we allow apathy to overtake action, then terrible things can happen. Over the last 2 years, we've had a huge jump in anti-Semitism and white supremacist activity in our country. And it's really casting a shadow over our lives. We've had neo-Nazis and racists who are emboldened and empowered, and what they are determined to do is to undermine our confidence in our society. They're also wanting to terrorize individuals and to degrade our sense of security. This is very scary. It has to be taken very, very seriously.
Why do you think that there has been such a rise in the last few years? And then the fact is that the liberation of Auschwitz was only 75 years ago. This is in living memory. And incidentally, I was talking to my daughter about it last night, and she was saying 75 years, people are still alive who went through this. So how can we see in that period of time a rise in white supremacy and I guess those things that, we hoped that we could learn from?
It's an interesting point. It's a good point. A day before he committed suicide, in 1945, Hitler wrote in his last will and testament that it would take centuries for anti-Semitism to return. And yet, as you point out, 75 years after the Holocaust, anti-Semitism and white supremacy and neo-Nazism are back big time, and they're alive and well. In our country, we've had a litany of incidents of hate crimes, such as physical attacks, vandalism, and harassment. One of the reasons is that people have forgotten. There's a generation that has not learned the lessons of history. But also, I think, is that social media has been weaponized. You've got Holocaust deniers, you've got racists who are using YouTube and Facebook and all the other social media platforms to spread their toxic ideology. But also, you've got legitimate news sites that permit public comment on news stories who are being hijacked and being manipulated. So it's a combination of things. And I think we need to understand that the genie of racism is out of the bottle. We have to come to terms with the hard facts. And also we have to fight this with everything that we've got. It's for the safety of our children and safety of our community.
You're listening to Dr. Dvir Abramovich, who is the chairman of the Anti-Defamation Commission. Now, one of the things that is from the responses on our Facebook page to the fact that the giant swastika was painted on a popular tourist lookout, people are saying that we're blowing this out of proportion. It's just a bunch of kids, and that if you highlight this, it's a minority, and really it's not a big deal. But why why should we? I guess, what is your response to people like that who aren't necessarily, like they're saying, no, we're not racist, but it's just a bunch of kids. Let's ignore it.
Yes. I would tell them to look around, and I would tell them to look at what happened in Christchurch. That cold-blooded killer who walked into the mosques in Christchurch and massacred 59 Muslim worshippers, but also other white supremacist maniacs who murdered Jews in synagogues in Pittsburgh and San Diego, they were motivated and inspired by the very same ideology that this swastika and the Nazi flag that was flown in Beulah represents. So anyone who defaces or daubs a swastika is openly promoting and celebrating Hitler's evil ideas. And we have to remember what it led to. It led to the gas chambers. It led to the Holocaust. These people believe in a world without Jews, without gays, without the disabled, without anyone who is deemed undesirable. It is disgusting. It is un-Australian. It's not who we are. And the worst thing that we can do is to avert our gaze and to dismiss it as kids being kids. And that's why I've argued for the last 2 years that the government, both state and federal governments, have to take a stance. They have to use these incidents not as an opportunity to pass the ball and to give a free pass to white supremacists, but to say we live in a moral crossroad now. We live at an inflection point where we have to decide who we are. And therefore, I've called on the state and federal governments not to give a free pass to those racists who are nourished by inaction, but to do the right thing and once and for all close the lid on this disgusting phenomenon and ban the public display of any symbol of the Third Reich. We owe it to the diggers who sacrificed their lives to defeat Hitler's regime, and we owe it to the Holocaust survivors.
Dr. Dvir Abramovich, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.